Thank you everyone for joining me today. I'm here at Lions Capital Mortgage right down on A Avenue in downtown Lake Oswego. This is a new mortgage company, and this is also a new podcast series where we're going to be hosting local small businesses, showing you guys what it's like to be a part of this great, fantastic Lake Oswego community that we have enjoyed for the past decades. We'll get into that later, but first off, I want to introduce Kevin Hanna, Chris Knouf, and Lions Capital Mortgage. Guys, can you tell me about the company and why you started it?
Yeah, I mean, Lions Capital, as you mentioned, we were born and raised in the local community. And over the past several decades, we wanted something that allowed us to maintain flexibility, but serve the local market and kind of collectively take our experience over the years and really just engage in the community. As you see by our space, it's very welcoming, bringing people in and not stuffy, as you may typically think of a mortgage company. Yeah. But the lending part doesn't have to be a scary part of the business. And we want to just really be a part of engaging the local community and really showing them that we care, honestly.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, a comfortable space. I just want to compliment you guys. This is dialed in. I mean, I show a lot of nice houses on the daily, and you've got the Wolf appliances, beautiful quartz countertops, custom cabinetry, and it is a really comfortable space. And I think that's important when you're talking mortgages, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the most important financial decisions and products that a person's going to ultimately be using. And to have that comfort level where you're really feeling like you're working with an advisor, I think is important. Is that kind of what you were shooting for here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, that was one of the biggest reasons we wanted this, this space is obviously to be inviting and, like Kevin said, not to be stuffy and intimidating, right? I think oftentimes, especially with some of the stuff in the media or what people may have gone through in the past with getting a mortgage, it's maybe intimidating to them, or maybe they were going through their journey and weren't quite ready at that time. And this space allows for them just to come in and relax, just like you said, be in a home, being in that home environment and be comfortable to kind of have transparent conversations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for, is that honesty in the conversations and to kind of bring that down. Although we're a smaller organization, we can lend in almost 50 states. We can engage in any product that's out there. We can really engage the community to serve them. And if we can't, we're going to leverage our 30 plus years of experience to find them the best spot. So it's really not just about your mortgage. I mean, we're financial advisors. We are trying to put individuals on a path towards financial freedom and to get them out of debt. That, a lot of people will say, am I better with debt or am I better without debt? I think we can all answer that to say they're better on that path and we want to affect their lives. And if we've been a part of this community, like we were giving out hamburgers and hot dogs on the 4th of July, right? And we were engaging that all for free. And people asked us, hey, are you charging? We're like, no, we're here to serve. And our job is to serve them, whether it's giving them a hot dog or engaging on a transaction, to show that we're here caring about your family and engaging them throughout the life of the whole process. So,
and I think there's an important piece that you mentioned, Matt, kind of circling back, or what you even mentioned is kind of guiding them towards the right thing, being the advisor, or like we like to say, the educator. There's been times when a client will call in, and let's just say it's a refinance. I know we don't really know what that is anymore, right, with rates, but that being said, they call in, we do an analysis. This may be short-term gains, a couple $100 up front now, but if you really truly think that you're going to be relocating to another state, or you're going to sell this house because it was a project, you may not recoup your money for that refinance. And the honesty is so important in that, rather than just getting a deal, that we've actually had clients say, you're telling me not to refinance right now. Well, based off of what you've shared with me and your goals, I don't think it's a good idea financially long-term. It may be short-term. So, leaving them with that, being transparent, being the educator, right, like we talked about, is super important to us, because not only is it the right thing to do, but then people want to come back more, right, and interact with you and be a part of that. So I think that's super important.
Well, it hits on the community aspect, right?
Right.
Your families are here. You guys were raised here locally in the community. Your reputation matters, and it's not all about a deal. It's not transactional. So that's very clear. And I do respect that, because in today's rate environment right now, we're seeing a lot of price shopping going on. And rightfully so, but we're also seeing a lot of fear of like what the next couple of years is going to bring. And I think the knowledge and experience and track record in the community to basically give people the advice, whether it's, hey, here's a product with us or here's a product elsewhere,
Yeah.
that's huge in gaining people's trust.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of agents like to see in their mortgage partners too, as they build out their businesses here locally too.
Absolutely.
You know, we talked a lot about like the local community so far. What, I guess specifically, does it mean to you? What makes Lake Oswego different in your minds than the surrounding Portland metro and really other parts of the country that you've had the opportunity to compare it to?
I mean, I think it's home. Obviously, it is for us where we, work, live, and worship. But I think it's also a community. I've never seen a community, business owners, families come together. We saw it just even the 4th of July parade coming down, Avenue. And I think it's just a little bit of differentiator. You can go right to the lake and be on a boat jet skiing. You can go into have some of the nicest food, whether it's sushi from here or whether it's a beautiful steak or a new gorgeous steakhouse that's coming in next door to us. I think it's an engaging community that offers pretty much everything for everyone. To getting a Tillamook ice cream scoop, or you can go across the street, get your olive oil ice cream scoop, right? It kind of fits all palates, I would say. And I think the community really offers, it's a great school district for kids. And I think it just offers a great home that kind of checks all the boxes, I'd say.
Yeah, you touched on something funny there. We have seen a lot of transformation in the last couple decades with what this whole area looked like, 20 years ago, back when I went to Our Lady of the Lake up the street, compared to what it is now. You've got Salt and Straw, Bamboo Sushi. These are all bigger, I won't say chains, but restaurant, companies that have been very successful in expanding from Portland to here in Lake Oswego. And I see not only that migration happening right now with, companies like those, but also with people. Have you seen that in your business? People from outside the community recognizing how valuable it is?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of our location as well, is we honestly get people walking in asking us, one, where should I live? Is this great? There's First Edition that's right behind us, which is a gorgeous area. A lot of people coming out of California, all these other areas saying, I know that I need to be here. And what I see, obviously, when they come for about 4 months of the year, it's the most beautiful place in the country. So we've seen a lot of relocation individuals come, to kind of not only for the food, but for the areas, for the kids, for their grandkids. All different kinds that are really trying to engage back into this community and understand what the local market is. That's why I think it's great that you're doing this, Matt, to really engage the local businesses so people know where to go. Where are the spots within the spots that kind of the locals know that are the really good places to go. So highlighting that totally helps the community and people understand that because I think they're thirsting for that.
Well, and I think it's super important. I mean, you're obviously one of the best. You've grown up in Lake Oswego. You know the area. It's super important to know, do you want to be on the Lake Ridge side? Do you want to be on the LO side, right, if you will, or downtown, Old Edition, just like you said, or First Edition, excuse me. But I think it's important, in this area is somewhat of a little bit of a niche. And I think that it's becoming a little bit younger, Lake Oswego is, to some degree. And we're starting to see families, maybe young families that are starting to get in here, and then, the grandparents from Arkansas are coming over and moving close by because they want to be with their grandchild and their kids, right? So I think that's one little thing with some of the revamp and the remodel of entire Lake Oswego, if you will. You're starting to see some of that attract maybe some of the younger generations as well.
Yeah.
So. Absolutely. The value of education seems to be like a cornerstone within the community, right? And I think that's what you guys have done so well with this new company and how you're presenting yourself, not only to the public, but to your real estate professionals and partners. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit more about the company and why Lions Capital? What's the lion mean in the whole scheme of things to you guys as well as to the consumer?
Well, I mean, I'm covered in lion tattoos because I'm a Leo, but I'll let you go.
That did
first.
switch. That's a tough follow.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
That'll be cut up for the short form.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, why lions? I guess I was telling you earlier. I guess a big part is we wanted a name that really brought the community to get together and was an icon that people could kind of say, I like that, right? If you don't like a lion or an animal, probably something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But we wanted something that really brought people in, first and foremost. Second was we wanted something that really brought the strength to the financial aspect. I mean, this purchase of a home is their biggest expenditure of their lives. And to be able to have something that represents the value of and the strength and security of that, we wanted that connection, mentally before you even engaged in talking with us. And so the capital that you have and the lion that is a protector of that was something that was really important to us. And honestly, I was asking my 10-year-old son, because I was looking at words that I try to live by, like genuine, accountability, trust, integrity. So I had a list of 30-something names of companies, but it's kind of like that's the next Costco. It's the next name that everybody knows. Yeah. And I asked my son, I said, son, what do you think of trust lending? And he was 10 years old at the time. He's like, Dad, you know what? If you have to put the word in the name, trust in the name, that doesn't make you trustworthy. I said, you hit on what my whole, I couldn't articulate why I was struggling with that. And so when he said that, the name kind of came together, and I think it led us to something here in the local community that's there. And we wanted something that people liked the swag. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to see it and draw them in that way. And then hopefully we can wow them with, we're good, honest people that have been here for a long time. We care about more than just the transaction. Yeah. And that's what this all means. I mean, I even serve on the Oregon Zoo board. So I might have been a little influenced at that time outside of the tattoos from my buddy. That was important for us to really care about, children, animals, the local community. And I think it brought us something together to where it signifies, and people are they turn their heads for it. And that's what we wanted.
I love how you consulted your son on the name, because I know how hard it is to come up with a name, and to have a 10-year-old's perspective, like how valuable and cool is that? Yeah.
Oh, it was neat. And it was neat. It was an experience I'll never forget, honestly. So that was sweet.
Very cool. And then obviously with the line, like from the real estate agent perspective, part of what you do is you go out and you broker these deals, correct? So a lion, right, by its nature is very aggressive when it comes to hunting down, whether it's like the best deal in this case, right, or its prey. Tell us about like the back end business side of things and how you guys are positioned uniquely.
Well, let me tell you, some of my core values, was just written on the parish neighbors, is be fierce, to your point, be accountable and be genuine. And the first part is be fierce, because nobody's going to work harder than us to find the best solution. And I think there's a lot of myths around what platform is better. And I'm here to say there's no platform that's better. It's the people that run it to find it. What allows us in the platform that we built to go out there and search all the lenders that are offering out there, environments like this allows us to find somebody that maybe others won't. And the back end of that allows us to really go out and search lenders, find something that is unique to you, and to be able to deliver it to them. Because everybody has their offerings, right? You don't go to Costco to get a 2-pack of hamburgers for you, right? You're going to go to Safeway. You're going to go to other measures. So why would you? We have the ability to serve one customer in Oregon to maybe even somebody in Virginia that we're doing right now. So that to somebody that's doing $5 million loan, to somebody that's a first-time home buyer and they don't know what it is. So this created flexibility. And I think being nimble, being flexible is always a good thing in business, and especially in this market. So it really allows us, there's not a loan that we can't find a home for. Or a partner, because of our experience, that we think is the best to refer them to, even if it's not us. That's really important to us morally, ethically, for us to be able to find the best solution. And everybody can define what best is, but only the customer can truly define what's best for them. So,
our job is again, we talked about educating. We don't talk about selling a client on a mortgage, right? We tell them the benefits of it. But we want to Kevin's point, is give them options, and we're able to do that in this model, right? And I think that's super important, because, vanilla ice cream from Tillamook might not be your favorite. Maybe it's chocolate, maybe it's strawberry, right? It's the same thing with the client. Everyone has a different story, a different journey, and it's important to gather information, listen to them, and then we can go out and give them options, like you're saying. So
I think it's also important, Matt, not only our deliverables or where we can send loans for the client, is we took our experience over the last 20-something years and looked at this organization from the ground up. We took every platform, every stone. We've done more demos with what's out there. And we have more of a convenient technology for our customers than I think a lot of people have. Because that was a big factor. We don't want it just easy for us. We want it easy for the client. And that experience has to be there. So if we can deliver a really good product at a really competitive rate and have a very convenient, easy process, and you can actually trust us, I view those as recipes of success. And that is where it was really unique for me even in my career, to be able to go back and look at all these items and all these softwares that are out there and take the best of the best and not be beholden to them, but have them fit into what our objective is for our customers. So that was a big part of, that was the fun part of the journey. So
that's so smart, because many of my clients, if you're going purely based on rates, you might not have the best experience because they're still using the cheapest technology available that they've used for 30 years, and there's no adaptability in that model. And I've also found there's not a whole lot of flexibility in the products that those particular banks might offer. Right. So really, you might think you're getting the best deal, but you don't know at the end of the day, and you don't know what an alternative, I would say, client experience when it comes to educating you on your options. So even though you think you might be getting the best rate, because you're not educated and because you don't have that flexibility to shop, how do you really know?
You don't know. Yeah. You don't know. And you need somebody that counsels you through that. We could all be sitting around this table right now and say that you got 6%, you got 5%, and I got 7%. That's our measurement of success. Yeah. I don't know if you spent 10 grand to get there. I don't know if you spent nothing. I don't know if you're going to live in the home for 5 years and where that even makes sense. Like, all those are factors that you have to talk about. And I think we don't talk about rate, we talk about your payment and what's your affordability. What do you feel comfortable with? Because we're not here showing you how much you can afford. We're here showing you where you feel comfortable and engaging with, because that is what you and your family, this shouldn't be a stressful journey. This should be a exciting path for them. Whether it's a first home, a second home, or an investment property, that is the engagement that we want to connect with them on. So I think that's important.
And they're making the mortgage payment. Again, to your point, the comfortability of that is way more important than what's my max pre-approval, right? And so again, just to circle back to Kevin's, when we work with our clients, we want to work backwards. How much money do you have for this transaction? It doesn't mean you have to use all of it, but how much do you want to use? Great. What do you want your payment? Let's work backwards from there and then present this again back to the education piece. And sometimes, especially with first-time home buyers, they either realize, wow, I can purchase way more home than I thought I could, or this is above where I need to be with comfortability, or I may not be able to find a first home. I may have to start looking at a condo for my first purchase and move up from there, right? And so again, just back to that, I think that piece in working backwards, it's not about the rate all the time, like you said. So it's important to listen and then take that in and then present, right? So.
Absolutely. Speaking of rates, obviously that's been a hot topic in the whole industry. I get asked it a lot, you know, in terms of what I think is going to happen. Where do you guys fall on that perspective? You've had a lot of experience in the industry. Where do you think we're going in the next, 12 months?
Well, I would say, man, if I knew that, if we had a crystal ball, I'd tell everyone go back to what, 92, 93 and buy some Apple stock. So it's hard to say, to answer that question. We've talked about, and even the MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association, have sent out the forecast usually come January, right? And they predict every month of where those rates may be. And quite frankly, we're way behind where they thought they were going to be, in the low 6s on average with no points, right? So obviously with some of the data and things that have come out, that's not necessarily the case. The biggest thing that I tell people is once we fight inflation, things will come down. Right? And we're not there yet. People also like to say, well, we're going into a recession. I'm sure you've heard this a lot. I'm going to wait, right? Yeah. I'm going to wait till the rates come down, and I'm going to wait till there's more inventory. And there's no sign of that recession. There's just not. People are spending money, and jobs are good right now. People are getting jobs. They're retaining their jobs. And so with those two things, when you don't have a slowdown in that, you don't see that come down. So it could be first of the year. It could be fourth quarter. Yeah. I mean, it's very volatile right now is my point. So.
Yeah. I think there's some heavy economic data that's coming out this week, the CPI index and others. So I think that'll help drive it. But I think there's not enough information to drive enough calmness to have the rates move down aggressively, I think, over at least the next 6 to 12 months.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have this constant volatility. And as my father would always counsel me on when to purchase real estate or when not to, he says the time is now. And you always want to buy it usually when you're most uncomfortable. And so that is something that we even counsel individuals to say, if you feel comfortable with it, it's kind of like a stock market, or it's kind of like, blackjack. If you're trying to chase the lowest, or buy it at the lowest and sell at the highest, you're always going to miss it. So you really got to do whatever makes sense for you. Advise a client this morning. This is where I feel comfortable with. This is where I would counsel you if this makes sense to you and your situation. If markets move so drastically, what are you going to do? You're going to do like everybody else does and refinance at that point and really find a lower rate to really serve that. But if this is the home that fits your budget and fits your family's needs, then you need to purchase it. And that makes sense for you. And if we look back historically over rates, it kind of gives a good tale of, wow, we're not going to get 1 to 2% again. It's just not going to happen. But we're going to get back. I think over second quarter of next year, I think we'll start to get a lot more easing a little bit, and we'll see that. But like Chris said, I think we have to see some more continued economic data that shows that people aren't spending as much, that things are happening, and we'll see that. So I think we'll live in this volatility of 6s to 7s for a little period of time, which is still not a bad interest rate, honestly, with certain things.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, remember, historically speaking, we've all heard our parents say, I was at 18% and 11%, and obviously things cost more, but people are making more now. And I think the other thing to keep in mind that the client needs to keep in mind is that, if those rates come down, what does that mean for everybody else? Even with appreciation, does that make affordability more attractive or something to achieve for that first-time home buyer? Now, everyone else is in that same pool, right? And so everyone's fighting after that same bone again, if you will. And then what starts happening to those home prices because of bidding wars? We all saw that, 2 years ago, approximately, or a year and a half ago, and just driving that up and obviously fearful of that for those first-time home buyers that are thinking, I'm chasing a rate to get to where I want to be. So that's super important too.
there's also a lot of misconceptions on what the difference in payment is, even over an eighth in rate difference or a quarter in rate.
Yeah.
Depending on the loan amount.
So depending on the loan amount, depending on a lot of factors, it's good, especially in this market or any market, we counsel everybody just to be prepared. And let us prepare you so you're equipped when they do find a home that they're ready to go out there with you and engage with that, or know the flexibility that an eighth in rate, a quarter in rate, $100,000 more if it gets into bidding more or less, understand that. And we really give them tools to see that kind of on the fly for them to know and be kind of like that in tune with what's happening. And I think that's important for them just to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's huge too, because I feel like as soon as rates go down, to your point, the bidding wars and appreciation will start back up. I mean, it's already here to a certain extent, so you can only imagine what happens. But if you take, the holistic approach from the advisor, right, your incremental costs between a 6% and a 4% over the next 2 years, let's just say, might be $10,000, $20,000. But if you were to wait 2 years, you just missed out on that much appreciation. Plus, now you're paying $100K over if you want to compete. And that's not a fun place to be. We've all helped clients through that. And there's a lot more risk associated with waiving inspections and things like that.
Sure.
So now really is a great time, I think. The only challenge I see, which I think has kept our property values very well insulated here in Lake Oswego specifically, is a lot less people are looking to move because they've got those 3% interest rates locked in. And so, what's it going to take for them, to ultimately put their house up on the market and then relieve some of the inventory bubble? Because if you don't know Lake Oswego very well, there's no new land here that people are building on. It's very much an infill development, location. We have a couple apartment complexes that have gone in, but really no major housing relief in sight. Right. Which is good for property owners, but not necessarily good if you're looking to get into the community for that education, that lifestyle that it affords. In terms of the business side of things, where do you see Lions Capital in the next few years? What are your growth ambitions here locally?
I think everybody defines growth differently. To you, maybe growing your own personal production. Growth could be how many offices you can open. For us, we want to look for three things: people that are smart, hungry, and humble. And if we can find those categories, we can do the job, because we can teach you the business. Chris was a very big advocate in our last life of a position that brought new people into it and mentored them through the process. My advocacy on coaching versus mentoring is coaching usually creates dependency. Mentoring creates somebody that's more independent and better than me. And that's what we want to create with individuals like that. But we don't want to we're not for everybody. I have the luxury of growing up in a household of being the youngest of 5. What that afforded me was I learned what not to do. And I think if we're smart enough, we're going to learn from our past, failures and successes to learn how we can be better. And so even if somebody does a ton of business, if they don't represent the community well, they don't engage in the local marketplace, or they treat the back end staff well, we're not here to compromise on those morals. I think that's why it was a big part of us starting this, Matt, was to really just continue to do it the right way. And to realize that we'll find those individuals that are smart, hungry, and humble, and that care about the local community and embrace what we're talking about. And we're not going to step over, nickels to pick up dollars. We're just really not. It's just not in our DNA. So,
I think one of our non-negotiables is the change of our culture.
Yeah.
That's not up for debate or to negotiate or who we bring in, to your point. I think that, my father, I grew up watching my father, as you did, right? Start businesses, run businesses, things like that, be an entrepreneur. When you grow, and again, to your point, depending on that growth, you can very quickly lose your culture.
Yes.
And that's something that is super important to me. That's super important to Kevin and the individuals that we bring on to Lions Capital. Because that is who we are, and if we can lay our head down at the pillow at night and we're doing the right thing, that's all that matters. If we take care of our clients and we take care of our employees, those two things take care of the business, period. And so that's super important to me. I know that we've discussed that, and wherever we go, as far as how many branches or how many loan officers or ops staff we add, Kevin and I want to lead by example too. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Kevin and I are in production for a reason. I believe that if you lead by example, then everyone else will follow. And again, to your point, may even be better than you. If that's the case, how successful have you been at that point? That's the ultimate success, to grow someone to be better than you. But if Kevin and I can lead by example in our production and how we do, and we're in the trenches with people, that creates the leadership and the culture that everyone wants to row the boat in the same direction. Right?
How could I counsel a team member if I've never tried or done the product? And that's a big part of us staying in production, to really be focused on that and the community. And I truly believe, Matt, that true character is defined what people do in a dark room. And we want to make sure that we are finding individuals that we've worked with. I mentioned to you earlier, our operations manager worked with for 15 years. Production manager worked with for 12. Chris and I worked with together for 5 or 6 years. We want to find talent that we've worked with, experience we understand, and see through that. See through the individuals that truly represent that level of character. Because all the markets that we've grown over my past 20 years has been in smaller markets that really engage that. It hasn't been in downtown Portland or Seattle even. It's been in those markets where you can make an impact and make a difference. And that is honestly what keeps us motivated every single day, is that engagement. And so a lot of people will say this as a cliche and really say, no, but at the end of the day, you'll sacrifice production. We've learned enough to not compromise that. And really, for us to hold each other accountable, that's why accountability is a big part for me, is to maintain that journey. So we only hire individuals that are smart, hungry, and humble.
How do you see the current market environment right now as a growth opportunity, or is it a detractant? Where does that land in your mind?
It's all opportunity. Anytime I've grown a business has been in a down market, anytime. And that's why it was really important to create this, was in a down market. Even back in the 08, all of that happened. And 2007 opened up a wholesale mortgage company. And so those type of things, we've done it. Even in 18, when the market was a little bit soft, we created our past life. So this market creates opportunity. And I think it also allows us to really engage with individuals on a more personal level. So we can really understand when we're talking with somebody or recruiting somebody, they're not full of, thousands of loans and everything's so busy. And what are you going to pay me? And we can move on. It's just transactional. When they're less busy, their head is a little bit more up, and we're having a conversation about life. And we're looking for people that want to make this their career. And so I think this market represents a tremendous opportunity for us to grow and capture market share like we've always done, and to engage that. But that could be 50 people, it could be 5. And we're just going to really grow this the right way through the slow, methodical process and do that. But I think this market represents a tremendous opportunity to reap the benefits when this does turn around, because it will. It's all cyclical, and it will.
Yeah, he took every word I was going to say on that one. So
perfect.
I just read what you wrote.
Yeah, perfect. You got my email.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, great.
And
The memo. Well, very good. I think that's a great place to end today's discussion. I really appreciate you guys opening up your doors here in downtown Lake Oswego. I think it's the perfect place, not only to get to know your business, but also to start this series in terms of like interviewing small businesses, and we hope to do more collaborative work in the future.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And honestly, Matt, like the fact that you're going and engaging local communities is a true testament to you and your character, just to be able to spotlight this, because I don't think anybody gets to look under the hood like this. With companies really understand that. And I think you're bringing something that is tremendous value to the local community. So just thank you for you and the team for even taking the moment out.
Yeah, of course.
Let's do it again.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.